From the College of Law and School of Criminal Justice at the University of South Africa, Professor Mpho Matlala, good to have you on the program. So let's start with events from a few hours ago when members of Parliament had, for all intents and purposes, on this committee had enough of McBride, the words arrogant, hostile, being used to describe his interactions with some of the MPs. Was he a helpful witness?
Good evening, Tembegile, and good evening to the viewers. In fact, what Mr. McBride brought to the Ad Hoc Committee was his inflated personality. From yesterday, he was very evasive. Example, the issue with the outdated CV. We now know today that it was because he was appointed at IPID before he had that tertiary qualifications, even though we don't know what the requirements were, but such concealment of information to the Ad Hoc Committee really says a lot about his credibility or his character. And indeed, the level of arrogance and disrespect, the attitude displayed played itself out with all these clashes with members of Parliament, and his attitude really was that of showing off, just showing how much he knows the system, and without really cross-referencing much of what he said with evidence. And so he sort of purports himself like the authority in the system. It's more like he was giving a keynote address. Listen to me, I know more, take my word for it. And I didn't see him cross-referencing anything with hardcore evidence. For example, I was the best thing that happened to IPID. We were working. Where are the statistics to back that up? How many cases, how many of those have been prosecuted? How much of that has been successful in terms of prosecution, in terms of convictions? And those are some issues that I've noticed.
How do you see then his time with this Ad Hoc Committee over the last 2 days reflecting, if you will, on McBride's time as head of IPID?
One thing is very clear, that there is infighting, and indeed, no matter how much Mr. McBride tries to portray himself as a technocrat, he's a hardcore politician, and who has been using IPID to wage battles to people he's up against. That's point number one. And he would use the IPID machinery to pursue investigations to also discredit so-called opponents in inverted brackets. But what came out very clearly is that he handed IPID to a private citizen of foreign origin on a silver platter. And things shouldn't be happening like that within the security cluster.
I want to squeeze in two quick questions because we're almost out of time, Prof. The first one being about Paul O'Sullivan. So McBride does not say they were best friends, but he does admit that he has seen him. He's met with O'Sullivan, says he did not allow him to interfere or influence the work of IPID. But interestingly, he could not remember, could not say for sure, at least by his version, whether he was in court during one of O'Sullivan's court appearances when he'd run into legal trouble. How plausible or believable is that?
Well, when someone is cornered like that, selective amnesia sets in. And when he's confronted with hardcore facts, it might have happened, then the story begins to change, and you begin to see the inconsistencies in the testimony. Look, I will not believe that he was not there. He definitely was there. You cannot remember attending a braai at O'Sullivan's and and say, no, he's credible, but you cannot even remember attending a court case to go and support this person. And you cannot remember being friends of the court together with AfriForum and all those actors that really, from where I stand, along with O'Sullivan, they pose a threat to national security, because we don't know who else are these people,
Right.
at least who else are they talking to. At least with AfriForum, we know that they're speaking to Donald Trump.
And he did say, Prof, Robert McBride, that he does not believe that Paul O'Sullivan is a threat to national security. Very briefly, he does not believe that Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the KZN police commissioner, is a credible person on the whole. In fact, he accuses Mkhwanazi of trying to interfere in the work of the investigative directorate regarding Khomotso Phahlane, the former acting national police commissioner. Is there anyone from the senior police leadership that we've heard from so far and these entities who's going to emerge without at least some mud on their clothes at the end of this process? Because when you listen to each of them, they believe the other is the dubious party.
No, look, he did mention about the bulletproof vest saga with inflated prices, tying that to General Mkhwanazi. But where is the evidence? There is a maxim, I think it's an old Roman maxim that translates to he who alleges must prove. And I've seen allegations, I haven't seen the proof. It's either the proof, the committee has to take it on his word that, no, it's contained in so-and-so statement, I saw it with my eyes. But what is playing out here is that we have the what I call the best lagoon in the walk. Everybody wants to be seen as the top performer, as the best, as the clean one, and whilst mudding the other one. But if you're going to muddy people without evidence, then it can easily be defamatory.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Professor. We appreciate your time this evening, joining us on The Full View as we round up tonight's coverage of the Ad Hoc Committee in Parliament. Professor Mpho Matlala from the University of South Africa, that's UNISA, helping us to make sense of what we've heard today.